All right, guys. So today I have with us David Armour. He is the Senior Vice President of Finance at Convoy of Hope. Um, he kind of fulfills a role, essentially what a chief financial officer would do. So we want to give you a welcome and a thank you for taking time out of your day to talk to us today. We got just a few questions for you, so we won't take up too much of your time, but I've talked to you before. We've had conversations, and so I know you're a very interesting guy and you've got an interesting story. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Where did you start? How did your career start in accounting?
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to talk to you and to do this, and really appreciate the chance just to talk to a lot of people that are interested in nonprofits and interested in accounting as well, and career in accounting. But to answer your question, I started out. I graduated from Kent State University and started with Arthur Andersen. I've been in public accounting for 28 years before I left and came to Convoy of Hope. So, wow. And did audit, and I did some advisory as well, but primarily audit work. I was a partner at KPMG before coming to Convoy of Hope. And at Andersen and at KPMG, had an opportunity to live in London for a couple of years, and also New York as well. So had a lot of different opportunities to live in some different places that maybe I wouldn't have if I hadn't taken that path. So really enjoyed those places, and enjoyed my career in public accounting. But one thing that I always knew when I graduated and started in public accounting was that I wanted at some point in my life to go to a nonprofit. And I just, it was something that I always felt I wanted to do. I had an opportunity early in my career to do that. But my mentor said, you need some more experience, keep doing public accounting, and then, look at it a little bit later in your career. And that's essentially what I did too. So I stayed in public accounting, and then, as I got into my last decade, because I'm about 50 now in public accounting, they usually retire somewhere around 60 or so. I started, thinking about retirement and thinking about, man, it would be great to really, in this season of my life, to do something more before I retire, before I get older, when I have, more energy, more time, and things like that. And this opportunity came up for Convoy of Hope. I know one of the executive team members from the time that I spent in Cincinnati, and had really, got involved with Convoy of Hope myself through that person as well. And they asked me, hey, would you consider a CFO role at Convoy of Hope? And I thought about it, prayed about it. And again, I had this desire, for years to do something like this. And so really, after talking to the team members and things like that, it really made sense for me. So I made the leap. I moved from Cincinnati here to Springfield, Missouri, and then took on the CFO role in nonprofit. And I did this in April. I started in April. So I'm still relatively new in the role, but I'm absolutely enjoying it. So.
Yeah, last time we had talked to you, you had not been in town for very long at all. And I know I hit you with the typical Springfieldian questions about, have you had cashew chicken yet?
Right.
Have you went to Wonders of Wildlife and stuff like that? So hopefully you get a chance to do all that in Springfield. It's great. Those of the students that live here in Springfield will know all about cashew chicken. So, but tell us just a little bit about Convoy of Hope for those that aren't familiar. Kind of what is the objective? What is the goal? Because I've talked to the students that not for profits, when you receive donations from or contributions from donors, there isn't an expectation of return really. Most of the time, the donors are making these contributions because they believe in your objective. They believe in the purpose of the organization. So tell us a little bit about Convoy of Hope's objectives and purpose. What is the goal of the organization?
Yeah, so Convoy of Hope is really to help people in need around the globe. So we help get food to children around the globe. We help also empower women as well, help them start their business in the US and globally. And we also have some other programs where we meet needs, whether it's clothing, food for people as well. We have a large refugee program. And so it's really helping those people in need And we do it without discrimination to really anybody that has a need. And so we have a large children's feeding program. Primarily, it's all over the globe, but primarily Latin America. That's a huge place, in Africa. And then the women's empowerment ties into an agriculture program that we have as well, where not only is it helping women start their own business, but also allowing people to do their own farms and things like that. Our goal is really that we're feeding the children now, but we don't want to be feeding their children's children, right? So we want that next generation to be feeding itself, either through businesses or agriculture, things like that. And then we're helping a lot of refugees as well. So the Ukrainian war is a significant area of focus for us. We have a warehouse in Poland and Romania as well, and we're helping get food and supplies to the refugees that are impacted by the war there. And we help in other places. Africa has refugees as well, and even Spain from Morocco and things like that. So we have these other programs, but those are some of the larger ones that I mentioned. So that's a little bit about Convoy. It was founded in 1990, and Hal Donaldson was the person that started it. He's a journalist by trade, and he was writing a book about people that are selfless, and he went to interview Mother Teresa. And during his interview with Mother Teresa, she asked she said, "How are you helping the poor?" And he felt like he needed to be quite honest with Mother Teresa, right? As you can imagine, he said,
I would imagine he did, yeah.
I'm not doing much, and it caused him to go back, and he just started giving out food and clothes and just wanted to start something. And from there, he started partnering with people, and through those partnerships, it became what it is now. And it's just amazing global organization. And the Ukrainian war, I think that when I came, the Ukrainian war was just starting, and Convoy was responding to that. And to me, it showed the depth of the relationships that Convoy had. The fact that on day 2, we were on the ground providing food and clothes to the refugees, which is just amazing. And it's just those years and years of partnerships and relationships that we could get that established so quickly.
Yeah.
So that's about Convoy.
Yeah. And not only that, I think it, just in for academic interest and for accounting interests, good management of those resources allow for that as well. That's essential. Yeah. So one thing we look at, and a lot of nonprofits look at, is how much, if you give $1, how much of that goes to the programs. Yeah.
And that's an important figure if you're going to donate money or whatever. And talking to the students there, that's something you want to look at. And ours is about 90 plus cents, like 92 cents or so. Sometimes 91 cents will go to the program. So it's a very high amount, and a lot of nonprofits really try to strive for making sure that number's high.
Yeah. 92 is an excellent ratio. Yeah.
So.
Well, that's very cool. Outside of that ratio, what kind of other differences have you seen just in your short time working not-for-profit versus working in a for-profit setting?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things is people are here because they really care about people. Like Convoy of Hope, they really care about people, and of course in the business world they care about people as well. But you do get a slightly different type of care there. So people at Convoy of Hope, they have just huge hearts, and that's really neat to see. They just really want to help people and things like that. And so oftentimes it's finding a way to help the people, but doing it in the right way as well. And so one thing that I've had a chance to do at Convoy that maybe I wouldn't have done in public accounting is to, actually figure out how do we help these people in this region and do it the right way to make sure that money that's there and products there, that it's all appropriate with the U.S. government and with the local governments and things like that. So that's probably one difference, in public accounting or corporate America. You do have those rules that you need to follow, but it's done in a different context. It's done in a sense of business and making money and things like that, rather than just truly just trying to help somebody in need, right? So just slightly different context. So there are some key differences as well on the tax side of things. The key thing for a nonprofit is being tax exempt and not losing tax exempt status. So there's a lot of requirements for that. Businesses, they of course have their own requirements, but not so much tax exempt, but it's making sure that they follow and pay the right taxes, right? And that if they say they made X amount of money, that's actually what they made as well, either for their business owners or if it's a public company, people that have contributed to shares or banks that have given debt and things like that. But for a nonprofit, it's making sure that they maintain that tax exempt status and that they have trust to the donors as well. So the donors, when they give money, they can trust in the organization, continue to trust that what's being done with that is done with that. So the reporting to the donors is going to be slightly different than some of the reporting that's done for a corporation and things like that. And the tax documents that have to be prepared, there's still tax documents for a nonprofit, right? Because you have to maintain tax exempt status, but those documents look different. And so, one example of those is you have to see what each person makes. You can go look at a public document and see what do the executives make. Not everybody in the organization, but at least the top 5 and officers of an organization.
Your top 5 highest salaried executives are listed in your form. So
those are some of the differences and things like that. As far as controls and things like that, I think that I have not seen a really big difference there. The one thing that surprised me when I was a little auditor back in 1994, when I started with Arthur Andersen, was when I went to these big corporations, I couldn't believe how bad their controls were. These big publicly traded companies, I was like, I thought they had all their stuff together, and they don't. There's always issues no matter what company I go into and looked at all throughout my career. And it's really just the fact of growth for companies. Typically when a company's growing, they're going to have some challenges with controls or there's things that they need to improve. And it's the same on a nonprofit as well. It's not that of course Convoy is not a mess or anything. There's a great foundation, but it's tripled in size over the last 3 years. And that's one of the reasons I was brought in, and that's one of the things that excited me about it. But there's different controls that we need to change and different automation and things like that. But I wouldn't say that that's different than, a private company in my experience.
Well, we got about 10 minutes left. So my next question would really be, do you have any fun little anecdotes or fun little stories that you've seen working in profit, working in not-for-profit, just anything interesting you've seen? Students like to hear these kind of
I've got
plenty
as
an auditor.
I definitely have plenty of war stories. So one that we had briefly talked about, I'll just share that because it's pretty amazing.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's a good one.
But when I was a younger auditor, I was probably about 3 years into my career, and this was in Chicago, so downtown Chicago. There was this client on the south side, and if you go to Chicago now on the south side, it's not bad, but back in early 90s, late 90s, I guess, it was bad on the south side of Chicago. But I had this one client that was on the south side, and I went there, and of course it looks bad all around, but this one client, the building was beautiful, and there was this nice, beautiful black gate around it and everything. And I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. And and I was brought in kind of in the middle of the audit. I finished up another audit, and they needed another person out there, so they sent me. And so when I met the team and things like that, the senior accountant, she was telling me, so she's kind of in charge of it day to day. She was telling me that it's a bit odd because when she was going to leave at night from this place, she asked the controller if it was safe. And the owner of this company, this was a private company, the owner, his name was Fred. Okay. So she asked the controller, is it safe to leave? And the controller said, well, is Fred. Oh, okay.
Sorry, can you repeat that? You broke up a little bit.
Oh, he said, nobody touches anybody on Fred's property. That's what the controller told her. And she's like, what? Okay. And so then another time she was asking, when we leave at lunch, is it okay to keep our computers there and stuff? And again, he's like, nobody steals from Fred. Nobody steals from Fred. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, then, and so she was telling me, she's like, something's wrong here. Like, this is just strange. And then Fred, you would hear him yelling in his office, just cursing at people at the top of his lungs, yelling on the phone, and you could hear it all throughout the thing. So just a very strange atmosphere. Well, then I was asking some questions to the controller around repairs and maintenance. And being younger in my career, I didn't really understand what I was asking. So a good lesson here, by the way, is know what you're asking. Like anytime you're asked to do something, know why you're doing it. This was a case where I didn't take that due care. So I asked some questions, came back out with answers. The senior sent me back in. I came back out with answers. Senior sent me back in. I came back out with answers. And finally, I figured out what I was asking. And the person, the controller told me, he said, once I figured out what I was asking, he realized I wasn't going away. He said, I'm going to tell you two things. One thing you're going to write in the work papers, and the other thing is the truth. And so that's when the ethics class that I took at Kent State flashed in my head. And I remember the professor saying, always do the right thing. So,
right.
And so that was flashing in my head, literally. And actually that professor was in charge of the ethics committee for the Ohio State CPA. So that flashed in my head, and I called the partner, and I said, hey, there's something weird is going on. I talked to the senior as well. Well, come to find out, it was a mafia client. So they tied him back to the mafia, and we never finished that audit. We just ended up pulling out. So just crazy. So that's probably my, craziest story. I've got a bunch of other crazy ones, but definitely my craziest. And I hope nobody has to ever deal with that. But, the two lessons I tell people is, always do the right thing no matter what. And then always do things right. I think if the team had done all the right things before that audit started, like background checks and things like that, we wouldn't have even been out there. And then know why you're asking things, and understand the background on what you're doing when you're doing your work. So.
Yeah, I think anybody that was a baby auditor at any point has had that experience of you need to go back and ask more questions.
Right.
I've had to do it. I would imagine some of the students in the class that audit have had to do it. So very familiar. Well, David, really appreciate your time today. Is there, if you want, forward me some contact information. If you don't mind, some of the students, if they got questions or anything about maybe internships you offer, do you guys have an internship structure right now? Are you working on one?
Yeah, so it's not as strong as some companies, just because we've had some significant growth, but we have had interns, and it's definitely, Kyle, something that I'm interested in doing. So I'd love to talk to students about interning, and even students that are interested, as a career and things like that.
Well, I've got a great group of students in this class in particular. Get me, if you want to send me some information on how to contact you or contact somebody that can contact you, I'll be happy to put that out there for the students to get a hold of you. Like I said, it's a great group of students. I think you're talking to the right people here. So, David, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this for me. Hopefully I'll get you in a seated class this semester, and you can come in and talk to the students face to face. So
that sounds great.
All right. Thank you so much, David.
All right. You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.